Hi guys, welcome back to another day, another video. And in today's video, I believe episode 36 of the Q1 FY26 series, we will be talking about Jeena Sikho Lifecare. I think I'll do 3 videos today. Second video, I will cover the entire hospital space, part 2. हमने already part 1 किया है. And I think the third video will be on Dr. Agarwal because that's one thing that most of y'all are requesting. So anyways, आज का हम बात करेंगे जीना सीको लाइफ केयर के बारे में एंड आई थिंक दिस इज दैट वन वीडियो वन कंपनी दैट रिक्वायर्स अ सेपरेट वीडियो. Now before I start, if you guys want to understand the business model in depth, I am going to link another video here in the description box below which will explain you the entire business model कि like यहाँ पे ये जो product mix हुआ कैसे change हुआ, how does the business work, इसका कैसे how is जीना सीको का life care, how their unit economics is completely different. Let's say when you talk about a hospital such as Yatharth or Max or any other hospitals that are there. Okay, so पहला बात करते हैं कि जीना सीको का इस तरह का growth rate, and I think when you see over here the execution has been fantastic for the last 2 years. So how did this execution come forward to? What has been the secret sauce over here? The first secret sauce, the entire bet over here with Jeena Sikho is not on the product, it is not on the hospital, it is on just one thing, the man behind the business, that is Acharya Manish. Jeena Sikho is not, I'll tell you something, like it's not that hospital, it's not a product, that's got zero relevance, it's got nothing to do. The only person, this entire bet is on one person, that is Acharya Manish. They tell, right, product or I think, what is that word, product founder fit, they tell that entire product founder fit is this Acharya Manish for Jeena Sikho, because without him, without Acharya Manish, there would be no Jeena Sikho at all, because that is the man, that is a lion, that is a tiger, that is the entire showstopper behind this company that is there. He lives, breathes, dreams about this, and I think, right, I've been covering this company now for what, 4 to 5 quarters, and I've always told you guys, this is that one company you people have to listen to the con call. You shouldn't read this con call, because I think you guys know, right, I hate listening to con calls. I prefer reading because I can finish any con call in like 15 to 20 minutes max, right? But this is that one con call I will always tell you to like listen, because then you will know what it is like, because most of the times when you talk about a con call, it is a CEO, CFO, CEO, they are handling the calls. They're not founders, right? They're also at the end of the day an employee only, a high level employee at the end of the day. But yahan pe the person who's handling the con call is a founder, and you will understand what it is like to be passionate. I can feel it. I do not know if you guys can feel that vibe when you listen to when you listen to that Acharya Manish, but I can feel it. You know why? Because my philosophies, my principles, the way I think is exactly like that way this Acharya Manish thinks. Like both me and Rajesh, like it's just like I completely get when he talks about his business, and I can relate it to my business. I can understand. I absolutely love him as a businessman. That's something that I can tell. But anyways, the reason why I'm telling this is because if you don't understand this founder now, you will not be able to understand the business. The entire bet over here is on this guy, nobody else. So until and unless you don't understand his psyche, you will not understand Jeena Sikho. You might be like, otherwise, you will start cribbing about like inka product is fake and that and this. That is why I'm emphasizing on this so much. But anyways, coming back, I think we're digressing too much. Yahan pe the entire change, this entire that pace of growth, the execution that came forward, what happened over here is when you look back a year and a half to I think a year and a half ago, if you look at it, yahan pe ek product mix ka change hua tha. If you look at Jeena Sikho, there are two verticals of their business. One is a service based business where they have hospitals, daycare, clinic, where the patient has to walk in, get a treatment or get a consultation. The second part of the business is selling products. आपका Ayurvedic medicine that is there, which you get right over the counters, and these people do over the counters through their clinics or telemarketing करके वो करते हैं. Earlier, if you see, this product division was contributing 55%, but this is not as lucrative as the service-based business that is there. Now, in the last 1.5 year, यहाँ पे the entire push was इसको ये जो product based business है उसका थोड़ा hold पे रखते हैं and let us push in this service based business that is there. That is where the entire game started. That is where the entire product mix started. So last, I think a year and a half ago, if you see, the product base was around 55% and service base was 45 and 55%. Now it is ulta. right? If you talk about the service based business that is there, which was 55% earlier, now it is 45, and the hospital based business that is there, right, that right now is around 55, which used to be 45. I don't know if I'm talking the right numbers while I'm talking, because I'm just so excited to be making this video, right? Jo ayurvedic medicines, what they were selling, that was 55, now it is 45. Hospitals, which was 45 percentage to the revenue, now it contributes 55%. So this was a huge change that happened in the business. Okay, this was a huge product mix change that came through. Now यहाँ पे मैं सीधी सी बात करती हूँ यहाँ पे. I'm not going to go in depth के like आपको business model समझा के क्या है everything. Please watch that video. जो काम का काम है वही बात कर लेंगे यहाँ पे. So over here, if you see the target, if you look at last quarter Q4 of FY25, if you see, एवरीथिंग एग्जीक्यूशन वॉज टॉप नॉच इन Q4. सिर्फ एक चीज था Q4 में, उनका पैट मार्जिन का गाइडेंस थोड़ा मिस हो गया, बिकॉज पैट मार्जिन गाइडेंस वॉज 24% एंड दे डिड 19%. बट देर वॉज अ गुड रीजन फॉर इट, बिकॉज लास्ट टाइम दे टोल्ड उनका जो बेड कैपेसिटी है, दे वेंट ओवर एंड अबाउट द बेड कैपेसिटी का गाइडेंस दैट वॉज देयर, एंड दे एडेड additional 500 beds in the month of March. They added 500 beds. Okay, but what happened, ये 500 beds that is there, उसका clearance नहीं मिला था. It was still stuck in the process of getting cleared. Okay, so that is why when the Q4 ka PPT launched, although they had made, I think they had around 2100 beds, they could only write 1600 beds. That 500 beds they couldn't include in the PPT because उनको अभी तक वो clearance नहीं मिला था. ठीक है, जिसके वजह से थोड़ा because of that capex के वजह से उनका जो last time का PAT margin was 19%. But they stuck up with the guidance के लिए अगले साल FY26, we will continue to a 40 to 50% growth, almost around 720 crores in revenue. We will be talking, around maybe 20 to 25% ka PAT margin, depending on, how our capacity is going to go up. And last time ka jo bed tha was around 2000 beds. 2000 se they wanted to go to 3000 beds, okay, which is a 50% increase in terms of bed capacity. This was the entire target that was given in the end of FY25, that is last quarter. Now we come here in Q1 of FY26, and what an amazing set of numbers. First thing first, sales growth. Sales growth went up by 73%. Why? Because two things happened. Existing beds जो है वहां पर भी occupancy increase हुआ, नया beds जो है वहां पर भी occupancy आया. ARPOB जो है, ARPOB is also increasing, because now if you look at it, ARPOB is 8500, and there are some छोटू hospitals जिसका ARPOB somewhere lies between 7000 to 8000. वो छोटू hospitals में भी थोड़ा ARPOB increase कर रहा है. So as a result क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे, sales is going up. The second reason over here is, recently you would have seen that the government that is there, उनका जो government का scheme होता है, ECHS, CHS, insurance का scheme that is there. Earlier Ayurvedic hospital was not included in this cashless network or in this government का empanelment. That also has come right now, right? उसके वजह से all this government का people are also coming, right? So this is also another good thing, जिसके वजह से sales has been over the top. Okay, so this is one of the reason. Second thing, let's talk about the PAT margins, right? If you look at the PAT grew by almost 218%. Now, PAT margin that is there, this is the highest PAT margin we have ever seen in the company ka history. PAT margin is at 29%. Now, the reason that PAT margin went to 29% when the guidance was somewhere between 20 to 25% is because इनका जो marketing spend has come down significantly, जिसके वजह से marketing is another one expense only ना. Sales minus expense is your profit. So जब आपका expense कम होता है, profit ज़्यादा होता है. So that is exactly what happened. And किसी ने कॉल में पूछा था कि like आगे जाके अगर आप उधार लोगे, कुछ करोगे, marketing में ज़्यादा करोगे, and he was very straightforward. And this is why I like this guy, like he was like, भाई मैं तो कभी उधार नहीं लूंगा, and अगर मुझे marketing करना है, I will do digital marketing. एक video, instead of doing one video, I will do more videos. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा video बनाऊंगा, and ultimately, जिसको product लेना है वो आके लेगा. End of story. Okay. And why I tell you is because I can relate this. It's basically what me and Rajarshi have. You might have seen us, right? We don't do any marketing. We don't do any, how do I tell you? Like, we don't do any, that YouTube ads and all of that stuff. We don't do any of those things. Even we have the same philosophy, like organic रखना है, जिसको लेना है product वो ले लेगा. And the other thing is the same thing. Instead of doing one video, if I have to sell my courses, I'll do 3 videos at the end of the day. So that is why I can relate so much to this guy, right? And that is what he told. Okay. Now, other than that, if you look at it, now let's talk about the most important thing. There are two things, right? One is a service-based business and the other one is a product-based business. Service-based business में, like I told you in the hospitals, क्या target था? 2000 bed से 3000 bed होना. Now last time if you look at it, कितना था? 1600 beds, and that 500 beds which they added at the end of the March, it didn't get clearance, got cleared, and abhi if you look at it, as of Q1, the total number of bed is 2179 beds. So not just that 500 beds, got cleared, उन्होंने और additional along with that 80 beds add किया है. Now here is the thing, कितना target था? 3000. अभी कितना है? 2179. By the end of Q2, another 400 beds will come because already 391 beds are in pipeline. Which means what? Q2 से Q2 या Q2 somewhere between Q2 and Q3 also we might see another additional 400 beds. अभी कितना है? 2179. ठीक है, calculation के लिए 2200 लो. So probably by the end of this half year we might see 2500 to 2600 beds. कितना टारगेट था? 3000 बेड्स. ऑलरेडी कितना हो चुका है? 2500 to 2600. Now do you see what a crazy execution that is there? Third thing we have to look at it over here is occupancy and ARPOB. ARPOB is decent, 8000 to 8500. No change in that. But occupancy is where the game changer happens. Now when you look at occupancy, you might see that occupancy is just 57%, okay, which it was same in the last quarter or the same time previous year also. And you might feel that the occupancy has not changed, but that is not the right way to look, because occupancy का formula क्या है? Occupancy is nothing but number of beds occupied divided by total number of beds. Let's say for example आपका number of beds in the hospital is, you have 100 beds in the hospital, 50 beds are occupied, okay, 50 beds में patient है, so 50 divided by 100, so आपका occupancy कितना हुआ? Almost 50, so 50% is the occupancy over here. So I hope you get it right. 50, that is the occupancy in terms of percentage, you can tell. Now यहाँ पे, right, the reason you will see that the occupancy looks stagnant is because the total number of beds that is there, that is increasing ना. कितना आपका denominator बढ़ता जाएगा उतना आपका आंसर कम होता जाएगा. Because last time कितना था? Q4 में 1600 beds. अभी कितना है? 2179 beds. So that's roughly 579 beds added in just last 3 months. So now do you understand why occupancy is not the right metric to look at it? But if I consider, maybe not the new bed addition that has happened, then the occupancy comes up to around 80%, okay. And this is why I requested also him in the con call कि like आगे जाके maybe you can give, कि like occupancy का segregation, maybe matured hospital that has been, matured beds, the beds that have been operating for more than 1 year, you give a separate occupancy a year on year comparison. And maybe the new beds which is operational for a year or less than a year, उसका आप separate occupancy दे सकते हो. That would be I would say a better metric to analyze it, right? And again another thing, if it weren't, if the existing bed का occupancy नहीं बढ़ता ना, then this growth rate आपको नहीं मिलता, ये 73% का growth rate आपको कभी नहीं मिलता. और एक चीज I would want to tell, if you guys remember, a year and a half ago before he went bonkers on this bed का expansion, उसका occupancy था around 30%. I still remember him in that con call, he told कि like, bro, if I don't even add these new beds that are there, if I just increase my occupancy from 30 to 50%, I will reach a PAT margin from 16 to 25%. That time the PAT margin was 16%. I still remember that. And he had told. And if that hadn't happened, now I don't think this kind of PAT margin, this kind of numbers, in terms of sales you would see, because sales growth are two things. You have to fill your existing beds and you have to target new beds. Naya beds you have to put for the upcoming sales growth. So it is a good combination of both, right? New beds plus existing beds. So overall, that is the entire chakkar with the service based division. Product based division, as you know, the product based division was put on hold, right? Like uska they were developing new medicine, and they were waiting for a lot of clearances for this, because all of the medicines that you develop, it has to get approved by that Ayurvedic board, that homeopathy board and everything, right? So yaha pe they were waiting for the approval, and one of their medicines that is there went live this quarter. It is called as paid shuddhi or paid something. I couldn't care less about all of these things, but because see, I care one thing: show me the volume growth, show me the sales growth. After that bakwas kuch bhi karo, I literally don't care. But over here, one thing, apparently he launched this product and within just 1 hour they sold around 2100 to 2200 bottles of it. I think it is 2100 because Acharya Manish, the only problem I have with him in the con call is he speaks in Hindi. Like I understand Hindi, it's okay, but the numbers that are there, right, I don't understand. When he tells 26 22, I have to hold call in one hand and Google in one hand, so I could be a little bit here and there with the numbers. So please just check this once. That is something I would request you. I think and that is what he told, आगे जाके और products भी launch होगा. And because of this OTC, which was until now, they hadn't focused a lot, abhi bol raha hai ki like ye jo product based division hai, from there they're targeting 500 crores in the upcoming 2 to 2.5 years. And this 500 crore is not a part of the guidance that is there in this the current 720 crore ka guidance that they have given for this year. Another reason you will also see this 73% ka itna sales growth hai is because of this product division right now is also working along with the hospital or the service based division, because last pura saal mein only hospital hospital was the one thing they were pushing, but this year onwards they're going to start pushing both hospital as well as the OTC. And but they still want to be conservative, and they're telling like 720 750 crore in terms of the guidance that is there. And the other thing I'll tell you, इनका जो bed है, a lot of people have this thing कि like इसका जो they're putting up so much capex and everything, right? कहाँ से cash आएगा? Cash का यहाँ पे कोई problem नहीं होगा, because this is that one company जिसका ROE is around I think north of 60-70%. So if you're targeting 60-70%, if you're targeting a 50% का growth and your ROE is already 60%, then you shouldn't have problem growing. Problem comes when जब आपका ROE कम होता है and you're targeting more growth. Like for example, when you talk about ethos का ROE कितना है? 13%. Growth कितना target करते हैं वो? 20-25%. So that difference that is there between the ROE and that growth, right? 13 and 25, वो extra 10% का growth के लिए आपको आगे जाके debt लेना पड़ेगा, QIP लेना पड़ेगा, which is exactly what ethos does. You will see more companies. Sky Gold also is another good example. You can see क्यों इतना QIP करते हैं, क्यों इतना debt लेता है, because पैसा नहीं है यहाँ पे. Cash conversion is not that great, unlike Jeena Sikho. And यहाँ पे ये कभी problem नहीं होगा. You know why? Because of the founder. वो एकदम that मारवाड़ी मुनाफा का बंदा है. मतलब धंधा करना है, growth भी चाहिए, मुनाफा भी चाहिए. By मतलब growth के पीछे इतना भी भागना नहीं कि like मुनाफा completely गया. That is not the case. And I have tracked this company, since the time it has been there, since IPO. And I've literally, I can vouch this for one thing. ये जो बंदा है ना, वो ये जो बोलता है वो करके दिखाता है. And that is one thing about this guy. So anyways, and if you look at it, the current numbers absolutely fantastic. The aage jaake FY26 ka numbers that are there, they're on track with the guidance. 720 to 750 crores, somewhere between 20 to 25% PAT margin, right? And aage jaake 20 to 25% ye jo PAT margin hai, if you talk about that, and a 720 crore in sale, then FY26 ka PAT you can expect somewhere between 136 to 180 crore. That roughly translates, I think, between 45 to 60p. Now here is the thing, whether you want to give 45 to 60p, that whether it is cheap, whether it is expensive, for a company that grows at 45 to 50% CAGR and is targeting to grow at 45 to 50% ka CAGR for the upcoming 3 years, that is a very subjective decision. Okay, why I will tell you, ये जो founder है ये बोल रहा था कि like आगे जाके in the next 3 to 5 years they want to open around 7,000 to 10,000 beds. Abhi in this year it will be 3,000 beds. In the upcoming next 3 to 5 years, from 3,000 to 7,000 to 10,000 beds. That's roughly around a 35 to 45% CAGR in terms of bed expansion. Now here is the thing. Now aage jaake, for a company that can grow in the next 3 years at 45% CAGR in terms of top line, current PE if you're paying 45 to 60, when you're looking at 1 saal, 2 saal या 3 saal, for a person it might look cheap. On the other hand, somebody might only be looking at today or the upcoming few quarters and might look at it and feel like, iske liye 60p, 80p dena padega, that might feel expensive. So it's a very subjective decision. That is why valuation mein you can't tell like I am right or you are right or you both are wrong or anything. For somebody, some stock can be too expensive. For somebody, some stock can be too cheap also. So that is the thing. So there is no right or wrong over here. Okay. Ultimately, it comes down to, how much you read and how much opportunities you have, because ultimately it's a relative game, right? Like for somebody who doesn't probably have more opportunities compared to Jeena, it might look like, oh, all, the best company out there. But for somebody who's probably, reading a lot of these small caps and everything, they might find some 40% at 10p also. And with respect to that, Jeena Sikho might not be a good deal. So again, like I told you, it's a very subjective decision. I will leave it up to you guys. 45 to 60p for a company that is targeting a 45% kind of CAGR for the upcoming 3 years. So overall, I think that is that with the entire Jeena Sikho. और उनका एक और update था, if you remember last time they had mentioned कि like आगे जाके the kind of beds that they will be putting up is, they won't open a new hospital or, acquire a hospital. ये क्या करेगा, ये जो Ayurvedic, this medicine schools that are there, they will go there and they will convert that Ayurvedic का medicine schools में, they will convert into hospital, because वहाँ पे the bed is already there, right? Because those people give free treatments, doctors are already there, the students are already studying, you don't have to train them specifically. In that way, it is a win-win situation. You don't even have to pay rent, right? Unka last time, if you remember, they were talking about 3 colleges, that they want to convert into hospital. All of these 3 colleges also should get operationalized probably in Q2 or Q3. One should get operationalized in Q2 only out of this. So again, they're also, great, absolutely great. I think other than that, somebody had asked, like, aapka, there is no CEO in this company that is there. And they told, like, COO jo hai, they have internally promoted it, and CEO जो है वो अपना ही CEO है, मतलब मैं ही CEO, he told, because bro, like I at the end of the day, when you talk about जीना सीखो, like कोई भी उतना पागल नहीं है, मतलब कोई भी पगला चौधरी नहीं, he literally used these kinds of words in the con call कि like कोई भी इतना पागल नहीं है who can live breathe and think about जीना सीखो all the time, कि like 3 घंटे कोई कॉल आता है लखनऊ से, मैं उठ के चला जाता हूँ, right? That is a kind of madness you need to have with the work. And he doesn't see, like he's interviewed a lot of people, but he doesn't see that fire in the belly at the end of the day, to who has this same vision for Jeena, who has that same growth orient mindset with respect to Jeena, and that is why he can't hire anybody, right? Like, and I completely understand it, because when I look at my own company, right, equity research program, it's like my baby. Like, I can never hire a third person to look at, to handle my company. I can't, because I know what it takes. And that is why you see, right, over here everything is handled by me and Rajoshi at the end of the day, from creating the content to the sales to the marketing. Every mail, when you guys mail me, the customer support is me. The entire tech, the reason you see that the entire equity research program, from designing that website to making sure the platform is working properly, I do that work. Why? It's just, I can't explain it. Like, your business is like your baby, and you would do, and it's very hard to entrust your baby to somebody else, because not everybody, they might have all the degrees in the world, but that intent to work, the intent to give it all, it is something that only you can do. So I completely understand where he's coming from, like. And that, when this call was happening, I was texting Rajushi at the same time, and I was telling him this, like, bro, like, just listen to this guy, like, he's literally you in a way. So that is what I was trying to tell him. But anyways, great con call, great fantastic con call. I would tell you guys, if whether you invest in the company or don't invest in the company, that is secondary. Like, it doesn't matter. But I would only ask you to listen to the con call, so you understand what it is like to have a purpose, and put your blood, sweat, tears, and just be like a mad dog for that purpose. Like, just be like an absolute crazy mad dog. What it is like to be that, what it is like to have just one purpose, and make that purpose to be the greatest thing ever in your life, right? Like, for me, it is this entire equity research, the only aim was to make sure every retail can read con call, every retail can read retail investor can read PPT. That was the entire idea behind starting equity research program and this YouTube channel, nothing else, right? And that is the same thing, to make something so great, that is beyond you, that is something you can see. I mean, obviously, right, tomorrow there will be a day where obviously there will always come a day where Jeena Sikho will probably never grow at 50%, right? It's not possible. There will come a day where the base will get bigger, the growth will stall, all of that will happen, right? But yeah, I mean, there will be a day where we will have to bid goodbye to this business. But I have no attachment to the business as a whole, but what I have attachment is to the mindset of the founder. I mean, um, like, I get to learn, I would say, from this founder so much than anything else. Like, just that mindset. Like, just give your all, and just have that delusional confidence of being the best, and just believing even when the whole world doesn't believe in you. Like, I'm going to make Ayurvedic the greatest. Like, Jeena Sikho is going to be the greatest Ayurvedic hospital that India has ever seen. Like, just having that delulu confidence is something that I learned from, I absolutely admire from Acharya Manish. But overall, a great set of numbers, great this one. I mean, I think the how the stock is performed is clearly an example of that. Is clearly not an example, that's not the right word, but it's clearly a testament of like the kind of performance and the execution that it has seen. Like, literally, I would say the kind of execution it has been, right? Like, Acharya Mani should take a bow. I know tomorrow there will come a day where this will go, and the same execution might not be there, and the same thing can turn into a very bitterness also. There will also come that day, but for now, Acharya Manish is the greatest. But anyways, guys, that's that about today's video, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye.